Hey everyone, it's Rob from Ice and Dice Gaming here, and we're back from Gen Con, and we've got a lot to share with you. It was our first Gen Con, we weren't really sure what to expect. In the preview video, I told you about some of the games that we were looking forward to seeing and some of the things we were looking forward to getting. Some of that happened, some of it unfortunately did not. One of the events that we were looking forward to seeing was Tom Vassel's Dice Tower Live in the ballroom on Friday afternoon. Unfortunately, a little mix-up with a different event resulted in us having to skip the Dice Tower Live event, which really kind of sucks because it looked like it was going to be a really fun event. That said, I did get to meet Tom Vassell, shake his hand, say hi. The man is a gentleman. He stood at the door greeting almost every single person that walked in until he absolutely couldn't anymore and he had to get backstage to get ready for the show. But of the 1,200 people in that sellout crowd, he probably shook hands with at least 1,000 of them. So my hat's off to you, Tom. I'm sorry we didn't get to see your show. Maybe next time we're there. Shaking hands with everyone, though, I really hope he did manage to avoid the con crud. We seem to have dodged it. Yay us. Just some quick thoughts about Gen Con. Everyone in Indianapolis was just so friendly. From the convention volunteers to the exhibit hall staff, running the game demos, staffing the booths, to each and every attendee. I've read some things online about some rude people, some rude DMs, things like that. We didn't experience any of that, and just everyone was fantastic. Indianapolis, great city. Not a little city by any means, but it was a great city, friendly, well thought out, well laid out, sidewalks, bike lanes, isolated bike lanes, Ubers, little rental cars, little electric rental cars you can rent that are parked everywhere downtown to get from downtown to the airport or anywhere else you need to go. So
organized.
Yeah, organized. Yeah, there.
Well, the con and the city and.
Yeah, well, some things there was some disorganization, but for the most part, when you've got over 60,000 people coming into your city to visit the convention, there's going to be some mix-ups and some screw-ups, but that said, everything ran smooth. Starting off right from Wednesday, when we got into Indianapolis, we went straight to the convention center, went to Gate 10 parking, where we had a 4-day parking pass starting the next day on Thursday. Said we were in to pick up our tickets, asked them if it was alright if we parked there, and they handed us a little will call pass. And we got to park there for 5 hours on Wednesday, so we could go get our tickets and get back to the car without them towing us or anything. So that was fantastic. The will call line itself opened at noon on Wednesday. We got there about 2 o'clock, and we were in line for maybe 5 minutes waiting to get our tickets. And then we got our coupon book and our guide and everything and walked back to the car, checked into the hotel, and just kind of relaxed on Wednesday. Had a nice little dinner at the Texas Roadhouse on Southport Road, right across from our hotel. And great little steakhouse, staff there, again, like everyone else, incredibly friendly. And yeah, that was our Wednesday. Thursday was a little bit of a light day for us. We only had one event scheduled, and that was a 4-hour Dungeons & Dragons session. In the game, I played Elaine. Elaine was essentially a fighter, although using guns. Not entirely sure if the DM used Matt Mercer's Gunslinger character class for creating the character of Elaine. Some things a little bit different, so it might have been a homebrew variant, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got to play Sindaf, who was a monk. I'd never actually played a monk before, so it was quite fun to experiment with this character through the campaign.
Monks kick ass. Literally, they kick ass. Again and again and again.
I think my monk was kicking ass in the game,
yes.
And I really enjoyed playing her. Just jumping around and being able to move anywhere I wanted on the floor during an encounter. So, and the people we played with were exceptionally friendly, exceptionally nice. I was a little nervous because, playing with strangers, you don't know how they're going to act. But everyone there was awesome. The DM was awesome. Knew what he was doing, knew the campaign. was ready to answer our questions, so never confused about what was going on. And it was a great campaign itself.
It was a lot of fun. We had to explore a lower level of a training dungeon that apparently they had run last year, the first levels, and this was an addition to it. And we made it down. We found one of the big bads, defeated it. Yeah, it was, like Nikita said, it was a lot of fun. We didn't die, which is always a start. And they had extra characters because he anticipated us dying. So it was good that we didn't die. My hat's off to the DM, Ian Douglas, and our other players, whose names I don't remember. I think there was a Dave in there, and a Gary maybe, and another guy. Two of them were friends. Another was an older gentleman that had been coming to Gen Con for 25 years. It was a lot of fun. It was a mix. The other two guys were young, plus us. Ian, the DM, was a young guy. A lot of fun. That was pretty much our planned Thursday events. After that, we went shopping and taking in the vendor hall and buying games. Lots and lots of games.
Yeah.
We walked a lot, and actually, as we had nothing else planned Thursday night, we called it a night fairly early. Our pockets lighter, but our backs heavier. As we went back to the hotel, went out for a nice dinner and relaxed. Dinner Thursday night, in case you care, was actually Cheeseburger in Paradise, also on Southport Road. We wanted to stay close to the hotel. Our server there, I don't remember his name, but he was funny, and we were his only customer at that time, so he spent a lot of time with us. He was almost like a cousin by the time we were done. Then we went back to the hotel and just chilled for the night, watched some TV.
Actually, yeah, we watched all of it. House.
Yeah,
TVs,
tiny houses. I don't know. We watched a bunch of FYI. Speaking of the hotel, we were at the Best Western Southport. It was about a 12-minute drive to the convention center through the highways. Very little traffic through the highway. And as such, we were able to get to our parking lot at gate 10 and then catch the shuttle over to the convention center. And staying out there probably cost us less for our entire stay than some people spent for one night right beside the convention center downtown. That was our Thursday. Friday was a long day. On Thursday when we were shopping, there were a couple of games that had sold out. They only had a certain number of games certain quantity of games each day, and the Thursday allotment had sold out. So we headed back to a couple of those booths on Friday to pick those up, and fortunately we were able to get them. With our first panel being at 11, the vendor hall opening at 10, we didn't have a lot of time, so it was quick in, grab the games, and get out. The 11 a.m. panel was Geek and Sundry, featuring Ivan Van Norman, Amy Dallard, other Amy Vorpal, Becca Scott, and Satine Phoenix, and they were just talking about their Twitch shows, streaming live, how streaming live is a little bit different than recording video for editing and posting later, or for just playing in the living room with your friends. A lot of the conversation centered around Ivan Van Norman's Sagas of Sundry Dread, of which Amy Dallard, Becca Scott, and Satine Phoenix were all part of, I think, or was it other Amy?
I don't know. Yeah.
Some of them were in there. 3 or 4 of them, I don't. And it was really, really interesting. They talked about their lives before streaming, after streaming. It was a Q&A. They talked about their shows and life at Geek and Sundry in general. After that, we came right out of there, got into line for the Dice Tower live show. Talked a little bit about that top of the video. Nikita went off to the car to drop off our games because we didn't really want to lug those around for the rest of the day, and I got in line to hold our place. While I was in line, email or a tweet came through stating for the Critical Role live show that evening at the Murat Theater, you needed to have physical copies of tickets, not just the PDF that Eventbrite generated when you bought the tickets. So, when Nikita got back, we talked it over, decided that we needed to skip the Dice Tower live show so we could go get our tickets printed, and...
Because, yeah, we didn't know where we could print them at that time, how long it would take. because obviously traveling from Canada to Indianapolis.
I don't carry a printer, do you? And other people didn't as well. Just little aside, during the Critical Role live show, Matt Mercer actually talked about having trouble getting the sheets printed for his campaign that he was running that night at the hotel that he was staying at. So it wasn't just us having printing issues. So we did end up skipping the Dice Tower live show. Sorry, Tom. And we were able to get our tickets printed, and the benefit to that is that it was it gave us the opportunity to get some food because our day was pretty busy and we were rushing around.
I'm not even sure if we would have ended up eating it all that day.
Exactly. And after eating, we ended up lined up back outside the ballroom while the Dice Tower live panel was still going on inside for our next panel, which was the Talks Machina panel, where Brian Wayne Foster hosted the show with all of the cast, and it was just a Q&A from the audience, essentially. And it was a lot of fun. Standing in line, we got to see some great cosplay, not only of just general cosplay at the convention of people walking up and down the hall where we were standing in line, but Critical Role specific cosplay, with a couple highlights being Vox Machina, where a bunch of attendees dressed up as cows from that famous cow episode and had little subtle differences to their cow costumes. Grug's face was done up. Cow Keyleth had the antlers, of course. And another fantastic cosplay we saw that day was a woman who I believe she said her name was Sarah at the Talks Machina panel, and she had dressed up as Tyrion Darrington. And it was absolutely fantastic. I guarantee if you go online and look through pictures of Gen Con, you'll see her somewhere, especially on the Geek and Sundry Twitter page or Facebook page. I'm sure they've got pictures.
It was fabulous. I mean, it was Tyrion to a T.
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Gem-encrusted helmet, goatee, long flowing golden hair.
And if you don't watch Critical Role, you're obviously not getting these references. You need to go watch Critical Role so you can get these references and realize how amazing these costumes were.
So yeah, the panel itself, fantastic. Like I said, just waiting in line to get into the panel, we got to meet critters from all around the world. We were actually gifted a couple little items. One of them was a badge banner, and the which I have somewhere. Badge banner, and this was made by a critter named Chandra. My apologies if I pronounced that wrong, either way. She is actually the person that created the Critter Meetup forum for Gen Con that was posted about in the Critter forum, so if you visited there, then you know who Chandra is. And the other one that we got was my badge over there, the badge. The other one we got was a little Critical Role keychain that was, don't know if you can see that in the light, just some beads with some CR lettering, and another critter had made those, and we're handing them out to people that wanted it. And we
and there was fudge, but I didn't have any fudge.
Yes, another critter had brought in fudge, and we just didn't have any of that. Not that we didn't trust a critter. I don't think a critter's going to do anything bad, but
Fudge, yeah.
It stays with you. When Mummy says, when you're a kid, don't take candy from strangers, it sticks with you. Except for Halloween. Whole separate rules for Halloween. So anyways, if you're a Critical Role fan, this Q&A was not recorded by Geek and Sundry or by Gen Con. However, apparently Critical Scope does have the panel recorded. They're just waiting on the go-ahead from Geek and Sundry to post it online with Legendary Digital Network's blessing, just so that they don't step on any toes. Check it out if it is posted online. Lots of talk at the show of a total party kill during the live event later that night, much to the fear and dismay of certain cast members like Taliesin, who kind of retreated into his hoodie a couple times when it was brought up.
And the fans.
As well as the fans.
TPK.
Travis, however, seemed all for the TPK. He was like, yeah! So, Talks Machina ended at 5 p.m. The live show for VIPs at the Murat Theater, which was about a 2-mile walk through sunny downtown Indianapolis, doors opened at 6 p.m. and the VIP show started at 7 p.m. and doors for us poor folk that only got general admission tickets opened at 8 p.m. with the show starting at 9. We power walked on over to the theater, and the original plan was we were going to get in line. I was going to maybe go get some pizza, bring it back to the line. We changed our mind partway there. Instead, we just headed to this lovely little joint called Goodfellas Pizza, right by the theater, and they had a beautiful thin crust pizza. We only got the small, which was a 12-inch, so it was like 4 slices, but 2 slices each. We were full. It was delicious. So we had the supper there, and then we headed across the street to the Murat Theater. When we got in line, the line had already wrapped well over all the way around the building, and it just kept getting longer. But the line was awesome. We met critters, great critters. The couple, or more than a couple, the group behind us, they were from Arizona in visiting, and we talked to them for a little bit. And then directly in front of us there was a small group of 3 that were actually local to the area. And their name was mentioned, and I'm sorry I didn't catch their name, but they do have a little Etsy store that does custom etched glassware, as well as geek or critter or Dungeons and Dragons related merchandise, and they'd actually brought some of it to give away. They had some mirrored compacts that they gave out to some of the people in line that said Natural 20 across the top. And they also had some dice bags, and we were fortunate enough to be offered some dice bags. The one I was offered, we were offered our choice, and one of the ones said, "May the dice be ever in your favor." And I absolutely had to grab that because that's basically exactly what I have engraved on the back of my iPad. And the other one was a mini bag of holding that Nikita took.
Couldn't resist.
Their company name is Glass Room 26. Custom etched glass. They're on Etsy. They're on Facebook. At the bottom in the show notes below the video, I'll have a link to their stuff. If you do go visit them, check them out, buy anything, send them a note and say, "Hey, the people from Canada in line behind you at the Critical Role Live sent me here." We don't get anything from it. We just thought it was a really cool thing that the critters did for the people in line. So, hey, why not give them a prop? Another person that we met was actually right in front of them from Glassroom 26, and she was this young woman. She just turned 19. She decided to treat herself to the show, and so she drove all the way from somewhere in Texas. It was like a 13, 14-hour drive. Drove that by herself just to come up, just to see Critical Role Live. She wasn't attending Gen Con, it was just coming for the show. And it was fantastic to meet her. We talked with her in line, we went through security with her. She asked if we didn't mind if she sat with us, and we welcomed her. So thanks for sitting with us, Cheryl. It was great to meet you. Hope you had a nice, safe drive home. And enjoy the merch that you bought at Critical Role Live. The show itself was amazing. I could sit here and talk for hours about how awesome the show was. There were laughs, there were tears, there were feels, there was tension. There was Matt realizing that he had completely lost control of the show he created, and that was about 15 minutes in. It ended up being a very late night. We didn't end up back at the hotel until after 2 a.m. It was a long day. We were up at about 8 through till 2, you do the math, but totally worth it. That was really our Geek and Sundry day, with a little bit of follow-up on Saturday. And
definitely something we would probably want to do again, and we're already kind of talking about going to Gen Con again next year, just because Critical Role is talking about being live again next year at Gen Con, and I don't think we want to miss it.
We do not. Saturday was a shorter day for us, fortunately. We didn't have anything planned till 3 p.m., so we got to sleep in a little bit, and we didn't end up getting to the convention center until about 11 o'clock. We demoed a few games that day, including the upcoming Palace of Mad King Ludwig by Bezier Games, as well as their new release Whistle Stop. Palace was already a must-buy on my list, and getting to play it further cemented that. I know Nikita particularly enjoyed it. She had a little bit of a good run, and basically set what the demo guy told us was, to that point, the convention record for a high score of 166 points. And that was with us playing a little bit of an accelerated game because we were dumb and didn't quite understand the rules fully and was trying to end the game earlier than we really should have. Just a little note for once you actually get Palace, moats only get placed when you complete a room, not when you place a tile.
Not the fault of the person who was teaching us the rule in
No.
the demo.
No,
again,
we were just dumb. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault. He was fantastic. All the staff. Back to what I said at the top of the show. All the staff. Everyone is fantastic in showing us the games. Anything we wanted to see. Which takes us to our next demo, which was Whistle Stop.
Now this was something Rob was interested in picking up, which unfortunately sold out on the first day, and they weren't doing it where you could get a certain amount each day, so it was gone. But we still decided to demo it just to see what it is, because I actually didn't know much about it. Rob was the one who had investigated the game. Now it ended up being near the end of the day to demo it, so we really only had the opportunity to play it, and we couldn't wait to play together because there were there were 3 other people waiting to play the game. So Rob said, "No, what you play." Because I want you to see if you like it, because then that will help me get to buy it.
I was pretty much already sold on the game, so...
So I did end up playing the game, and Rob was watching, so he did get to know how the rules work and kind of see how the play progressed. And it was definitely a good game. It's sort of it's a tile-laying pathfinding game, because you have to lay tiles to move your trains. I enjoyed it. I think I wasn't as good at it as I was at Palace of Mad King Ludwig, but still very enjoyable. Although I would have to say it's simple in what you have to do, because basically you're moving and playing tiles. But I think I would likely not introduce this game to newer players who've never really played modern board games. I think that would be very confusing for them to start with that game. But for those who are quite experienced with board games, they would definitely enjoy it. There's lots of strategy, lots of paths to winning, especially with the number of players. We had 4 players. I think that's probably, I could see it being a little bit of an easier game with fewer players, depending on if they scale it at all, but we only played at 4. And yeah, it was a really enjoyable game. I think we are going to try to pick it up when it's actually released.
Absolutely. One other game that we demoed off the top of our head was a game from Floodgate Games. It's an upcoming Kickstarter that's coming out in September, and it was called News at 11. It's a party game where each player has to come up with a story for the news based on words that is on a card that is handed to them by the producer. It looks like we played a quick little round. You also get to write words. So there's a prompt, and if there's a blank card, you have to a blank on one of the cards you have to fill it in, and it's just kind of stream of consciousness filling in the blanks, and then they get shuffled and dealt out, and whatever words are on your card, you have to tell a news story about it.
I just want to note that you're not filling in every blank, you're basically filling in only one blank. So the game changes every time you play, and so if you have different players, they'll add their words this time around, and then if you play with someone else, in the future, those words will still be there, and then you're adding new words. So the game is always constantly changing, and I thought that was actually an interesting concept. And I thought it would have been, if we'd been able to play longer, it would have been it felt like a great party game.
So anyways, it's called News at 11. Kickstarter's coming out in September. Check it out. We did get a little demo pack of cards there.
Haven't opened them yet, so we don't even know what's in it.
We haven't even opened them. We haven't opened anything that we bought at Gen Con. None of the games, okay, we've opened the dice, but none of the games have been opened except for one game, and there's a reason for that coming
we'll
up.
talk about it later. Yeah.
So it was nearing time for the autograph session. So we head over to Lucas Oil Stadium to find where we go to get our autographs with the cast of Critical Role, and there was exactly 0 signage. So we're wandering around the field at Lucas Oil Stadium, kind of like I would imagine how some Indianapolis Colt wander around the field during a game. And we bumped into a whole bunch of other critters who were equally as lost as us. At one point we formed an entourage of about 30 people. Finally someone figured it out, so we all went tromping over to that area and got in line. And started a little bit before 3. Everybody came out, and each and every one of the cast was so friendly. One of the other neat things about it is we did get to see some new cosplay there, including an amazing Bigby's hand with Scanlan sitting in Bigby's hand. This person had created the hand, and she was the top half of Scanlan, and then there were some fake legs hanging down over the palm of Bigby's hand. It was just beautiful. Sam Riegel saw it, his mouth dropped open, got a huge grin on his face, headed right over to her, talked with her for quite a few minutes, gave her a hug, photos were taken. It was just such a cool moment. But time was coming for the autographs, so we get in line, we're going through. We were getting the DM's Guide and Tal'Dorei campaign setting book signed. Stupid thing. While we were getting my DM's Guide signed, as well as the Tal'Dorei campaign setting book signed, I did manage to get to apologize to Taliesin in person for my video snafu from the previous video, which fortunately he got a chuckle out of. Did also get a chance to talk to Sam about his upcoming stint as a DM in a couple weeks on Critical Role. I'm assuming while Matt, Marisha, and Taliesin are off at Burning Man, Sam's doing a one-shot. And they are seriously just the kind of people you'd like to sit around, have a drink with, and just talk about anything, whether it's about Dungeons and Dragons, video games. Of course, they're huge into the video game culture, being all professional voice actors. I think every single one of them have lent their voices to multiple video games. I know that at least Sam Riegel and Liam O'Brien also direct voice acting for video game projects as well as television projects. So, gotta admit, I was sort of starstruck. So I was quiet with some of them, particularly Liam, Travis, and Laura. In fact, I'm pretty sure Liam may have thought I was a mute. If he hadn't heard me talking to Marisha on one side and Sam on the other, I think he would have thought I was a mute. But they were all fantastic. Yeah. Matt was above and beyond all of that. He was the reason that the line wasn't moving fast. Matt likes to talk to everyone. He introduces himself, as if we need to know. He asks who we are and shakes everybody's hand. Talks with everyone. We got to talk to him about the show, about everything. It was just fantastic, and like we're trying to move on, and he's still talking. So,
but I mean, that's the amazing part about all of these people. That I usually you'd think that that famous people like this would be aloof and not want to get close to their fans, but they were, even before they started signing, they were walking among. Some of the people waiting in line and just talking to them there. And
like they were out on the con floor throughout the entire weekend, just experiencing the con as guests, not as stars. So we didn't run into them, but there are pictures and other people had run into them. And it was just fantastic. Like they're out there, and I'm hoping that the experience was enough that people weren't like swamping around them and everything so that they didn't feel unwelcomed. It seemed Matt was very excited about coming back to Gen Con next year. Hopefully bringing along the rest of the Critical Role crew. But even if it's just him and Marisha that come to hang out, that would be cool as well. We're really trying to get them up to Canada. We told Matt that. So hopefully in the future, look for Matt and Marisha, or maybe more in Canada. After the autograph session, we had one final event on Saturday. And that was a haunted walking tour of Indianapolis. Mike McDowell was our guide, and he took us around downtown Indy and shared some of the various stories of the various hauntings and history of some of the older buildings around. He is actually part of a paranormal investigation group. He heads it up in Indianapolis, so the guy knows his stuff, and he's got stories of a bunch of buildings. It was about an hour and a half tour. It was very entertaining. There were some laughs, and he's a good storyteller.
It sounded like some were personal experiences too, so it made it a little bit more interesting.
There was that as well. Plus, we got to meet yet another critter who was cosplaying as Vex earlier in the day and still had on the feathers and the ears as she took part in the walking tour, and we talked a little bit about the live show and the autograph signing and things like that. So that was really cool as well. Critters, we are everywhere. We are legion. Sunday was the final day of con. And it was a short day for us. We only had one event planned, and that was at 10 a.m., and it was an introduction to sword fighting class. It was put on by Union Martial Arts out of Hershey, Pennsylvania. The two instructors, Jennifer and David, have been working together for years. They've been coming to Gen Con for at least a few years teaching, and they really know their stuff. And we had a lot of fun. They showed us some basic moves, and then turned us loose on one another with foam swords. It was a lot of fun. We learned some things. Fighting with swords is a little bit different than you might have pretended when you were a kid for proper fighting. And probably a little bit different than what they actually show in shows like King Arthur and Game of Thrones and Braveheart. Not sure. But it was a lot of fun, and the last few minutes turned into this massive free-for-all where all proper form went out the window, and it was a hack-and-slash, die situation.
Although I do have to say, even though it was sort of hack and slash, sometimes you would suddenly do the move, and it's like, ooh, I did what we learned.
I learned that. Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, beat you over the head with the foam sword.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Sunday. Short day. We did take a look, actually, after the sword class. We did take a look at the history of Gen Con that was on the infield of Lucas Oil Stadium. As I mentioned earlier, it's the 50th anniversary of Gen Con. It was 50 years ago this year that Gary Gygax created Gen Con and brought it to the masses. And it was a retrospective history of Gen Con through pictures and items and memorabilia throughout the 50 years, back from its inception all the way up to newer games as recent as last year, new releases and things like that, and games that were key to the board gaming industry becoming what it is today. Games like Settlers of Catan, of course Dungeons and Dragons, Axis and Allies, other games that evolved the board gaming industry beyond Monopoly and Scrabble. Not that they don't have their place, but this is board gaming at the whole other level. And it was really kind of interesting to see where it started, where it is now, and hopefully where it will go in another 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 years. Hopefully Gen Con will be with us that long. Hopefully I'll be here that long. So, we've been home for almost 24 hours now. We've had a chance to decompress and sort our thoughts somewhat. And now, here's a rundown of the loot that we bought at Gen Con. So, dice, I have a bit of a problem. Just a small problem. It's not a big problem, you see. It's just a little bit of a problem.
Dice in here.
50th anniversary limited edition die. Poop die. Scanlan's infamous poop die. Now, in all fairness, not all these dice are mine. Some of these are Nikita's. Not these ones, though. That was a free die. I didn't pay for that.
These ones are awesome, though, actually.
Metal dice. Metal dice rock. So, yeah, I have a little bit of a problem. I bought some dice. These ones are cool. I spent some money on dice, but that's okay, because you can never have too much dice. Laura Bailey, I am with you on this. So, anyways, yeah, dice. Alright. So, first real game, just before we get into the game, psych, just before we get into the game, I did want to mention, the metal set came from Crystal Cast, and these dice are from Halvesies. Really cool dice. Halvesies ran a Kickstarter earlier this year, late last year.
Like that, yeah.
Was thinking about getting in on it, didn't, but I did pick up a few sets here at Gen Con, including this one, which is a Halvesies dice set colored specifically for Board Game Geek in their blue and orange colors, which is kind of cool, which Nikita has laid claim to.
Yep.
These ones are a limited edition red set of Critical Role dice. Lovely red.
Uh-oh.
Lovely red dice. And
Find that one later.
yes. And so yeah, so now that's enough for the dice. On to the games. First game that we picked up is not a new release, but
Still relatively new.
still relatively new, and that's AEG's Automobiles by David Short. And we picked this up. It's a racing game. We are fans of Formula D and thought this game looked pretty sweet as well. In addition to Automobiles, they had the expansion, the Racing Season expansion.
Which is new.
If I'm buying this at Gen Con and spending all my money, I'm not going to leave this on the shelf. So we picked up those.
I just want to say part of the reason we bought those is, as we mentioned, we do play Formula D, and a lot of times we pull Formula D out for some of our newer gamers. With automobiles being a bag builder, there's a little bit more of a strategic element behind playing with that game. So hopefully that game does work as well for our newer players, that we can pull that out as our new racing game, so that we can have that extra strategy that we like as more avid gamers than our friends that have never played board games before. So the next games that we picked up, and again we kind of talked about this earlier in the episode here, is Exit. So it was sold out on the first day that we were there on Thursday, but we were able to pick up copies on Friday. We were up bright and early to be able to get all 3 copies that were for sale. So yeah, we have the Pharaoh's Tomb, the Abandoned Cabin, and the Secret Lab. We did not get to demo these games at Gen Con, but I'd already known a little bit about them. I'd done some research about them because we've been kind of actually interested in escape room games since we heard that board games were starting to make games like this, because we have played a few escape rooms ourselves and really enjoy them. We love the puzzle, the thinking that you need to solve them, so we can't wait to play those games, and I think we're probably going to play those with our kids who also like solving problems and puzzles.
That was Exit the Game from Cosmos Games.
We also did pick up another escape room game. This time it was just on Unlock. This one is what's this one? Squeak and Sausage. We were hoping to get all 3, but again, this game was also very hot at the con, and the other 2 are already sold out. So we're going to play this one and enjoy it, and I suspect we'll somehow pick up the other 2 later.
Probably. From Space Cowboys, this one is unique and a little bit different from the Exit game in that this actually uses an app that is available for iOS and Android to help you through the game, instructing you what to do and giving you key instructions and interaction with the app itself for success and victory.
Yeah. It's also a timer, and that timer is going to evaluate your score, tell you how well you did in the game.
Yes. Next up, we picked up the Sheriff of Nottingham expansion, Merry Men. From Arcane Wonders, it introduces a 6th player option as well as deputies into the game. So now not only do you have the sheriff you have to contend with, you have the deputies as well. We also picked up a little sheriff figure that replaces the cardboard cutout in the original game. And because we bought these, they also threw in a pack of extra little cards, expansions. Haven't even opened it yet, but this top card here says it's Prince John's Pig, and it's got some writing on it that I can't read in this dim light. So yeah, that's the Sheriff of Nottingham, Merry Men. Great, fun, bluffing game. If you haven't played it, I strongly recommend you check it out. It's fun to lie.
Very fun to lie. Next expansion that we picked up on was an expansion that I've been really wanting. I think Rob probably wanted it too, but it's pretty much the expansion that was top on my list. And that was Orleans, Trade, and Intrigue. We love Orleans. I say Orleans. It's Orleans. I know. It's one of my favorite games. I'm pretty sure it's one of Rob's favorite games. Again, it's a bag builder. Where you're trying to build up your bag to get you the pieces. This one's going to add some new features to it, so a different intrigue board where when you go send your workers there, they have different powers, and rather than just getting coins like they do in the original game, some new events. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward to playing this because we pretty much have the base. We have the first expansion, we have this expansion, and you know what, since we were buying this, we couldn't resist. We got from Board Game Geek these expansions. That's the left one. So, you know,
mini expansions,
promos.
Yes.
So more buildings, because, you know, having different building options makes the game more fun, because it changes what you can do compared to what other people can do. Yeah, so we just can't wait to play these.
The promos themselves are from DLP in Germany, so there is primarily all in German, but there does appear to be some English on here, for some of them at least, so we'll know what we're doing. The Trade and Intrigue is originally DLP Games out of Germany. This is actually TMG, Tasty Minstrel Games, here in North America, that is releasing this one. So be sure to check out TMG for your North American Orleans fix. couple other small promos that we picked up at the BGG store was the Diversified Economy Terraforming Colony tile for Roll for the Galaxy, as well as a small set of promo cards for Above and Below called Above and Below Groves. No idea what they do.
No, we'll find out.
But they were there, and we had money, and they had cards, so we gave them money for their cards. They like us.
We did pick up a couple of older games there as well, from Bezier Games. The first one being Colony. Now this isn't I say older, it's not super old, but it wasn't released this year basically. I think you were kind of actually looking more at this game than I was.
Originally, yes. I looked at it when it had first come out and read a little bit about it, and it seemed kind of interesting, but we never got around to pulling the trigger on it. I was kind of responsible for this purchase at Gen Con, and I'm not going to lie, the main reason I bought it was because it was the very last copy they had.
So yeah, we sold this game out. So whoever didn't get this game because it was sold out, it was our fault.
Sorry, not sorry.
Pretty much.
So yeah, Bezier Games, Colony.
Another game that we picked up is Keyflower. This one's definitely a little bit older, 2012. This game has been on my want list for quite some time now, and I've just never really pulled the trigger, mostly because it's a little bit more expensive for us to pick it up here in Canada. So I couldn't resist when I got to the table where they were selling this. I can't wait to put this on the table because I think every one of us in our family will love playing this game. It's a tile playing game with some auction mechanics, and meeples. Meeples are the best. So we are really looking forward to putting this game on the table. We didn't pick up the expansions for that one though. But
we did not, but probably a good thing. So again, Keyflower, this one is the Game Salute version that we picked up at Gen Con 2017, 50th anniversary. We did end up making a few impulse purchases. The first of these is from Restoration Games, and it is called Indulgence. It is a trick-taking game where rules modifications are the order of the day. It's based on an old game called Dragon Master, which I think originally came out in 1981, somewhere around there, which itself was based on an even older game called Coup d'etat. So yeah, this game's got some lineage behind it, and just based on that alone, I couldn't say no to that, because one of our favorite trick-taking games from 20 some odd years ago is a game called Wizard. And so yeah, hopefully this gives us the same playability and fun that Wizard has over the decades.
Yeah. Another impulse buy that we couldn't resist, although it was on my want list before heading to Gen Con, is Quadropolis. This one's definitely a popular game, and lots of positive feedback for this game. Plus it's tile laying, and that's a game style that we really enjoy. We have a lot of tile games. So when we picked this up, we also had to pick up, in this case, the expansion. So that's fairly new. And we don't know much about the expansion, but we're pretty sure that will make this game even more playable.
So one game that was sort of an impulse buy was a game called Wasteland Express Delivery Service from Pandasaurus Games. I've been watching this for a while, and it seemed pretty decent. We walked by, we hemmed, we hawed, we weren't going to get it, but then we were there, it was there, and well, the rest was history. While we were at the Pandasaurus booth, I got to take a quick look at the upcoming Dinosaur Island, and I'm still stoked about getting that once the Kickstarter copies ship. Oh, and for Wasteland Express, they also threw in a small little expansion pack of cards. You know what? Like there's missions and things that you have to do in this, and
it's pick up and deliver.
Yeah, pick up and deliver. And there's like some pretty cool looking little minis on it, and some cardboard standees, and some dice, and yeah.
It looked great. Set out because we did watch a few people sort of playing shortly. So
heavy box.
So we're looking forward to playing that one as well. I think we'll really enjoy that one. So more games. As Rob said earlier, we bought a lot of games. We did come across a booth that was doing Ancient Terrible Things, another game that's actually been on my want list for a while. I don't normally like dice rolling games, but when I looked into this game, this one was actually one that I think would fit. So easy to learn, but still strategy. So we actually did demo it for a while. I'd never actually played it before. I'd just seen other videos about the game. And it was a really enjoyable game. It was really fun, and you can see that there is strategy involved with the dice rolling, depending on which monster you go to, and which, you know, spending your tokens to manipulate dice or manipulate the cards to you know, win the game. Only got to play for about 5 minutes, but that was enough for me to convince Rob that yes, we had to pick up this game. And at the same time, the Rob Van Zyl was at the booth, so he was happy enough to actually do some artwork and sign the game for us while we were there. So on the inside of the box, if you can see that, one of the shrines, evil shrines there, and his signature. I think that was awesome that he did that for us. So this kind of makes this copy of the game a little bit more special.
Yes, so thanks, Rob. We're going to treasure this and play the hell out of it.
Yeah.
One final impulse buy from the same booth where we picked up Ancient Terrible Things and Keyflower, and it's this board game booster box. Got no idea at this point what is inside this box. All we know is that there's a minimum value of $80 in this box with an average of 120 bucks. So let's open it up and see what we have. Let's kind of be careful here so we don't cut off any appendages or damage anything inside. Alright, and paper! It's a box full of paper! Nope, there's some stuff in here. Okay.
So let's see, first game is on Tonton, Warriors of the Lost Empire. I actually have no idea, I've never heard of this game before. Looks like a card game and dice rolling. So we'll have to try this out and maybe make a report on how that game turned out.
Yeah, now this looks like it's for some pizza game that's got some stickers and various things to it. What do we, oh, some more pizza cards. Some more pizza cards maybe.
Game bits.
Little meeples.
Monsters and Maidens, Lady Farmers for Carcassonne. A horde of Amazon warriors for Risk. These pink wooden maiden meeples are the perfect accessory for your tabletop gaming adventures.
Ah, very cool.
Different.
Okay. And then we have Eternal Dynasty from Zucchini People Games. Yes, Zucchini People Games. It is a game about dynastic ambition. Where we try to become one of the ruling families of ancient China.
I'm suspecting it's an area control game from what I can see in the back
Spread
there.
your influence, defeat your enemies, rule China. Area influence. We've been kind of out of area influence games for a while, but
you know what?
We're definitely going to give it a try.
And the last one, ooh, you know what? I've been talking about getting dexterity games, and this might be a dexterity game.
Yeah, look, it's a pizza flicking game called Top This from Uniforge.
Oh, hey,
And I
pizza pieces.
Yes, I suspect that these have to go with that. Possibly expansions or extra stuff. I don't know. We'll have to get into it and see.
Yeah, I actually do not know anything about any of these games, so we get to enjoy them fresh.
Yes, including figuring out what the hell they're all about. That was it for our games. Of course, with all the good that comes from Gen Con, that came from Gen Con, there were, of course, some disappointments. Biggest disappointment by far was that Pandemic Legacy Season 2 did not release and was not available for purchase at Gen Con. Originally, Z-Man had mentioned that it should be there, but apparently it didn't make it in time. They were, however, giving sneak peeks inside a tent, but we avoided getting too close so we didn't get spoiled. We want everything fresh for Pandemic Legacy. So look for that to hit your store shelves this fall. And who knows, maybe lucky Essen attendees will get first dibs on it. Second disappointment, for me, more than Nikita, was that Goodman Games was releasing an update, a 5th edition update of the classic Dungeons & Dragons module B2 Keep on the Borderlands. They were hoping to have it available for sale at Gen Con, but it did not make it in from the printer in time. So, yeah, no Keep on the Borderlands for us yet. And then the final disappointment is, at least for me anyways, is that Gen Con is over. We were there for 4 days, and we didn't even begin to make a dent in everything that there was to see and do at Gen Con. Over 19,000 events across the 4 days. And there was a lot to do, a lot to see. We saw as much as we could without collapsing from exhaustion. And even that was close. So yeah, we had to come back home, poorer, but far more enriched by the people that we met and the people that we played games with over the course of our Gen Con. So there you have our recap of the 2017 50th anniversary of Gen Con. We had a blast and have already marked the dates for Gen Con 2018 on our calendar, which, as I mentioned before, August 2nd to August 5th, Indianapolis Convention Center. We're thinking about maybe signing up to do demo games from one of the publishers, Bezier Games. I'm looking at you. With it being earlier in August, it's now less than a year away, but we still have some time to decide. If we go, hopefully we'll see you there. Thanks for watching, and please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to our channel. We're going to do something really cool when we hit 100 subscribers. We have no idea what it is yet, but trust us, it will be cool. So again, thanks for watching. I'm Rob, this is Nikita. Hope to see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.